I grew up in a house that was haunted by a child spirit. Being so young myself, I was very aware of it and had no concept of speculating about whether it was real or not. It was just a simple fact of reality that there was a little ghost in this house. There were knocks on the walls on the back porch. Small things would inch off of shelves and drop. Innocently, but definitely happened. My mother would see a small figure run down the hallway leading to her bedroom, and she'd say my name, wondering why I wasn't asleep, and then come to check on me to see me fast asleep. Orb caught frequently on disposable camera pictures, which our family was big on, lots of disposable cameras in my childhood days. My most wowing incident was watching a Mary-Kate and Ashley VHS in my mom's room, and the TV going static and getting annoyed. My big brother and I called the ghost Larry, and I yelled at Larry to stop messing with my movie, and it worked. I remember being kinda shook that I could talk to it, and it would hear me and respond. One of my earliest memories. Later on learned that my mother asked our landlord if she knew about the paranormal activity at the house, and she had confirmed that a young boy fell from the second-story window to his death. Growing up with a ghost really set my path into adulthood. I am now a very curious, spiritual, mystical individual. I have experienced a lot of very odd things in my day. When you come into this world knowing undeniably that there's much more to life than most people are even comfortable considering, it definitely creates a fringe element of perspective, and it kind of leaves you wondering what else there is. My dad bought an 1884 Victorian house with my stepmom when she was pregnant with my younger sister. This was around 13 years ago. Being a history lover, my dad wanted to discover the history of the house and who built it. Turns out it was built by a judge and his wife for their family. I was 12 when we moved in, and I got to pick out my bedroom upstairs. There was one room that stood out to me as the creepiest, coldest, darkest room out of the four up there, and I refused to go in there. I even refused to keep the door open. It had a stagnant eeriness to it that made me sick to my stomach. Every night, I would wake up at 3 a.m., and somehow, the door would be partially open just enough that a small child could fit through it. I'd shake it off as my dad was probably playing a joke on me, as he knew how much that room creeped me out. Well, at 3 a.m. one morning I woke up and the light to the stairway turned on, following that there were footsteps that came up the stairs. I didn't think much of it as my dad probably was grabbing something out of one of the other unoccupied rooms. He's an early riser. However, the footsteps stopped, and the light was still on. Later in the morning, my dad asked me why I left the light on in the stairwell, and I said, "Why did you leave the light on in the stairwell?" "I heard you come upstairs." He said he didn't come upstairs, and I believed him, and while we were on the topic, I told him to stop leaving the creepy room door open. He swears he didn't, and as a dad would say, why would I open a door to a room no one is in and waste heat and money like that? Which makes sense. He has no reason to open the door. This is an old, poorly insulated house that he was renovating, and it took a lot of heat and money to keep it warm. About a year later, it was late, and I fell asleep on the couch downstairs, so I got up to go to my room. When I got to the top of the stairs, I noticed the door to the creepy room was open. Tired and annoyed at this point, I went to close it, but froze when I saw a hand on the door frame and a little white face of a little girl. Just as quickly as I saw her, she vanished. As my dad continued to renovate the house, I guess it stirred things up because we could be sitting in the dining room and we could hear little footsteps above us, running, dancing, around the creepy room that was directly above the dining room. A few years later, we discovered that the judge and his wife, who built the house, had a daughter who died in some kind of accident. She was only 9 when she died. I haven't seen her since, but to this day, I still refuse to go into that room.